Captain Jake Morrison stared at the empty void of space through the bridge window of the UFS Ranger. The stars looked different out here, beyond the edge of the galaxy where no human ship had ever traveled before. His crew had been exploring this region for 3 months now, searching for anything that might help humanity's reputation among the other alien races. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange on the long-range sensors," said Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez from her position. "At the tactical station?" Her voice carried the excitement of someone who had been staring at empty space readings for weeks. Jake turned away from the window and walked over to her station. The screen showed a large object floating in the darkness, much bigger than any ship in the human fleet. "How big is that thing, Amy?" "At least 10 times the size of our ship, sir. Maybe bigger." "The sensors are having trouble getting accurate readings because of some kind of interference." Amy's fingers danced across her control panel, trying to get clearer data. Chief Engineer Ben Carter looked up from his workstation near the back of the bridge. "The power readings from that object are off the charts, Captain. Whatever built that thing had technology we've never seen before." Dr. Lisa Grant, the ship's scientist who studied alien life forms, pushed her glasses up her nose as she studied her own readings. "Captain, the metal composition of that ship doesn't match anything in our databases. Some of these materials shouldn't even be possible to create." Jake felt his heart rate increase. This could be exactly what humanity needed. For the past 5 years, ever since humans joined the Galactic Council, the other alien races had treated them like dangerous children. They called Earth a Deathworld, a planet so hostile that anything living there had to be violent and primitive just to survive. Most aliens were afraid of humans, and the few who weren't looked down on them as barely civilized barbarians. "Take us closer, Amy, nice and slow. I don't want to seem threatening to whoever might be on that ship." The Ranger moved forward through space, its engines humming quietly. As they got closer, the alien ship became more impressive and more frightening. It was shaped like a massive diamond, with surfaces that seemed to shift and change color as the light hit them. Weapons ports dotted its hull, and each one looked big enough to destroy a small moon. "Captain, I'm not detecting any life signs," reported Amy. "The ship appears to be dead in space. No power to engines or life support systems." Ben shook his head in amazement. "But there's still massive energy coming from somewhere inside. It's like the whole ship is one giant battery that's still charged after who knows how long." Jake made his decision. "Prepare a boarding party. Amy, you're with me. Then I need you to figure out how their technology works. Lisa, start documenting everything you can about whoever built this thing." 20 minutes later, Jake found himself floating in the airlock of the alien ship, wearing his bulky spacesuit and carrying enough equipment to survive for hours. The boarding tunnel had connected easily to what appeared to be a docking port, almost as if the alien ship was designed to accommodate visitors. The inside of the ship was even more incredible than the outside. The corridors were huge, clearly built for beings much larger than humans. The walls were made of the same strange metal as the exterior, and they gave off a faint glow that provided just enough light to see. "The gravity in here is set to about twice Earth normal," reported Ben through the comm system. "Whoever lived here was used to conditions that would crush most of the aliens we know." Amy's voice crackled through the radio. "Captain, these weapon systems are incredible. Each gun on this ship could probably destroy one of our battleships with a single shot. I've never seen anything like the targeting computers either." Jake moved deeper into the ship, following what appeared to be a main corridor toward the center. The more he saw, the more worried he became. This wasn't just advanced technology. This was technology designed for war on a scale that made human conflicts look like playground fights. "Lisa, what are you finding about the people who built this?" Dr. Grant's voice was filled with excitement and concern. "Captain, this is disturbing. From what I can tell by studying their equipment and living spaces, these beings evolved under conditions that make Earth look like a peaceful garden planet. The radiation shielding on this ship is designed to handle levels that would kill a human in seconds. The atmospheric processors show they breathed a gas mixture that would be poison to most known life forms. Jake reached what appeared to be the ship's bridge. The command center was enormous, with control stations that could only be operated by beings at least 8 feet tall with arms much longer than human arms. But what caught his attention were the star charts displayed on the walls. Ben, Amy, Lisa, get up here to the bridge right now. You need to see this. When his crew arrived, Jake pointed to the largest star chart. Look familiar? Amy gasped. That's our galaxy? But look at all those markers scattered around it. Red dots were spread throughout the galaxy map, with lines connecting them to various star systems. 2 of the largest red dots were positioned over areas that Jake recognized as Earth's solar system and another region far on the opposite side of the galaxy. Dr. Grant studied the markings carefully. Captain, I think these red dots mark worlds with extremely hostile environments, death worlds. The kind of planets that would force any life to evolve into something incredibly tough just to survive. Ben was working at one of the alien control stations, somehow managing to interface his equipment with their systems. I'm getting some kind of data download. It's huge. Thousands of years of records, maybe more. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Can you tell what any of it says? Still working on the translation. But I'm seeing repeated references to something they call warrior seeding and preparation for the coming darkness, Captain. I think whoever built this ship was involved in some kind of galactic-scale project. Amy's tactical training kicked in as she studied the weapon systems more closely. Sir, these aren't just weapons. They're teaching tools. The firing controls are designed to help someone learn how to fight more effectively. It's like this whole ship was built to train warriors. Dr. Grant made a discovery that made everyone stop what they were doing. Captain, I found genetic data. DNA sequences that are almost identical to human DNA, but enhanced somehow. Stronger, faster, more resistant to radiation and disease. Jake stared at the data on Dr. Grant's screen. Are you saying these aliens were related to humans somehow? Not exactly, sir. But I think both humans and whoever built this ship were. Created by the same people. Look at this genetic marker here. It's present in human DNA, but it's dormant. In the DNA samples from this ship, the same marker is active and enhanced. Ben's translation program suddenly started producing readable text. The first message that appeared on the screen made everyone's blood run cold. Phase 1 complete. Warrior. Species successfully seeded on designated worlds. Phase 2 will begin when the seeded species achieve interstellar capability and make contact with each other. Phase 3 will commence when the darkness returns from the void between galaxies. Jake. Read the message again, hoping he had misunderstood. Ben, can you find out what this darkness is? Before Ben could answer, alarms started going off on the Ranger. Amy's radio crackled to life with an urgent message from their ship. Captain, we've got a problem. That dead alien ship just sent out some kind of signal. It's broadcasting across the entire galaxy on frequencies we've never seen before. And sir, we're getting responses, lots of them. Jake looked around at his crew, then back at the alien star chart with all its red markers. They had found exactly what humanity needed to prove they belonged in the galaxy. The problem was, they had also found something that might be far too dangerous for anyone to handle. Pack up everything you can carry. We're leaving this ship right now. As they hurried back toward their boarding tunnel, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they had just triggered something that would change the galaxy forever. The question was whether humanity would survive long enough to see what they had unleashed. The signal from the ancient ship traveled through space at impossible speeds, crossing the galaxy in mere hours instead of the years it should have taken. In the Magellan cluster, on the edge of known space, something that had been sleeping for thousands of years suddenly woke up. Commander Zeth Ironscale felt the awakening call in his bones before any of his instruments detected it. He was 8 feet tall and covered in natural armor plates that had evolved to protect his people from their brutal homeworld. His red eyes opened in the darkness of his command chamber, and he knew immediately that the time of waiting was over. Warcast. Attend me. His voice rumbled through the ship's communication system. Within moments, his bridge crew had assembled. Each one was a perfect warrior, bred for combat on Vorth Prime, a world where the weak died before they could walk. The signal has come, Zeph announced, his clawed hands working the controls of his command station. The other warrior race has been found. Prepare the fleet for immediate departure. Sub-Commander Vex Bladeheart, Zeth's second-in-command, studied the incoming data. Commander, the signal originates from the Galactic Rim. The coordinates match. The ancient records of a seeded world. Zeth's mouth curved into what might have been a smile if he had been human. Instead, it revealed rows of sharp teeth designed for tearing through the toughest materials. After 3,000 years of isolation, we finally have worthy opponents. How many ships are ready for combat? 57 vessels of the line, Commander, the entire Fourth Fleet. Excellent. We will show these new warriors what it means to be born on a true Deathworld. The Korthax Empire had isolated itself from the galaxy for millennia, after their first contact with other species had ended in disappointment. Every alien race they encountered was weak, soft, unable to provide the challenge that Korthax warriors needed to test themselves. So they had withdrawn to their cluster of worlds and waited for something interesting to happen. Now, finally, it had. Meanwhile, in the core systems of the galaxy, the signal had also been detected by the Galactic Council. Ambassador Veltar Moonwhisperer, an elegant being from the peaceful Altarian Republic, was reviewing the day's diplomatic reports when his communication console began flashing urgent warnings. "What is the nature of this disturbance?" he asked his aide, a young Centaurian named Pip Stardust. "Sir, we're receiving reports of an extremely powerful signal broadcast from the unexplored regions. The signal appears to be some kind of ancient communication protocol that we've never seen before." Veltar's silver skin shimmered with concern. The Altarians were among the oldest members of the Galactic Council, and they had heard legends of ancient civilizations that had once ruled the galaxy. Most of those legends ended with warnings about things that should not be awakened. Have we identified the source of this signal? Yes, sir. It appears to have originated from the area where the human exploration vessel Ranger was conducting surveys. Veltar felt a chill run through his body. The humans were still new to galactic civilization, and they had already caused numerous problems with their aggressive nature and unpredictable behavior. The idea of humans accidentally triggering some ancient system was terrifying. Prepare my diplomatic vessel immediately. And send a message to the Council Emergency Committee. We may need to intervene before the humans cause another incident. Sir, there's something else. Long-range sensors are detecting a large fleet moving from the Magellan cluster toward the same coordinates. The ships match no known design in our databases. Veltar's elegant features twisted with worry. How large is this unknown fleet? 57 vessels, sir. And they're moving faster than should be possible with any known propulsion system. Back on the Ranger, Captain Jake Morrison was dealing with his own crisis. The alien ship had gone completely dark after sending its signal, but that was the least of his problems. His ship's communication array was being flooded with responses from across the galaxy. "Captain, I've got the Altarian Diplomatic Corps requesting our immediate status report," reported Amy Rodriguez, trying to sort through the flood of incoming messages. "The Zephyrian Trade Federation wants to know if we need rescue assistance. And there are at least 20 other alien governments demanding explanations." Dr. Lisa Grant looked up from her analysis of the data they had collected from the alien ship. "Captain, I've made some progress translating the genetic information we found. The news isn't good." "Tell me, Lisa." "The genetic modifications in the alien DNA samples aren't random. They're systematic enhancements designed to create the perfect warrior. Increased bone density, enhanced reflexes, improved healing ability, and something called battle consciousness that I don't fully understand yet." Then Carter interrupted from his engineering station. "Captain, I've been analyzing the energy readings from that dead ship, and I think I know why it sent out that signal. The ship's power core wasn't just keeping the lights on. It was running some kind of scanning system, constantly monitoring local space for specific genetic markers." Jake felt his stomach drop. Genetic markers like the ones in human DNA? Exactly. Sir, when we boarded the ship, our presence triggered an automatic response. The ship identified us as one of the seeded species and sent out a contact signal to alert other seeded worlds. Amy's tactical display suddenly lit up with new contacts. Captain, I'm detecting an incoming fleet. 57 ships approaching at high speed. They'll be here in 6 hours. Can you identify them? Negative, sir. The ships don't match any design in our database. But Captain, the energy signatures are similar to the dead alien ship. Whoever's coming might be the people who built that thing. Jake made a quick decision. Send a message to Earth Command. Priority Alpha, tell them what we found and that we may need backup. Sir, it will take 3 days for any Earth ships to reach us. I know, but we need to try. The next 6 hours passed slowly. The Ranger's crew prepared for possible combat while also trying to understand more about what they had discovered. Dr. Grant made several disturbing discoveries about the genetic modifications, including evidence that they were designed to be activated by stress and combat situations. Captain, I think the genetic changes are dormant in humans right now, she explained. But if we were put under enough pressure, especially in a combat situation, they might activate automatically. What kind of pressure are we talking about? The kind that would threaten the survival of our entire species. When the unknown fleet finally arrived, Jake got his first look at the beings who had built the alien ship. The lead vessel was sleek and deadly, covered in weapons that could probably destroy planets. But it was the communication that came from the ship that really worried him. Unknown vessel, you will identify yourselves immediately. I am Commander Zeth Ironscale of the Korthax Empire. You have activated an ancient beacon that marks you as one of the warrior races. Prepare to prove your worthiness through combat. Jake looked around his bridge at his crew. Amy was already working on defensive strategies. Ben was trying to figure out how to make their weapons more effective. Dr. Grant was studying the genetic data with new urgency. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earthship Ranger. We're explorers, not warriors. We found the beacon by accident and activated it unintentionally. Zeth's laughter came through the communication system like the sound of grinding metal. There are no accidents among the warrior races. You were guided to that beacon by the same instincts that have kept your species alive on your Deathworld. Your words claim peace, but your ship's positioning and the readiness of your crew reveal your true nature. We don't want to fight you. Want is irrelevant. The ancient protocols are clear. When two warrior races meet, they must test each other's strength. Only through combat can we determine which of us is more worthy to face the coming darkness. Jake realized that diplomacy wasn't going to work. The Korthax had been waiting for this moment for thousands of years, and they weren't going to be talked out of it. But he also realized something else. The genetic modifications that Dr. Grant had discovered weren't just theoretical. He could feel something changing in his mind, his reflexes getting sharper, his tactical thinking becoming clearer around him. His crew was experiencing the same changes. Amy's fingers moved across her controls with inhuman precision. Ben's understanding of their ship systems was reaching impossible levels. Dr. Grant's analysis of the Korthax was providing insights that should have taken weeks to develop. All hands prepare for combat, Jake announced. It looks like we're about to find out what it really means to be from a Deathworld. The ancient beacon had done more than just call the Korthax. It had awakened something in humanity that had been sleeping for generations. And across the galaxy, other civilizations were beginning to realize that they were about to witness something that would change everything they thought they knew about survival and warfare. The first shot came without warning. Commander Zeth Ironscale had grown tired of what he saw as weak human talk about peace and exploration. To a Korthax warrior, such words were either lies or signs of a species not worth fighting. He ordered his gunners to fire a warning shot across the Ranger's bow to see how the humans would respond. Captain, Jake Morrison felt the energy blast pass close enough to his ship to make the hull plates vibrate. In that moment, something changed inside him. The genetic modifications that had been sleeping in his DNA suddenly woke up, triggered by the immediate threat to his crew and ship. His mind became sharper, his reflexes faster, and his understanding of combat tactics expanded beyond anything he had learned in military school. "Amy, evasive maneuvers?" "Pattern Delta 7, he ordered. His voice steadied despite the danger. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez moved her hands across the control panel with inhuman speed and precision. The Ranger twisted through space in a complex pattern that should have been impossible for a ship of its size. The genetic changes happening in her brain allowed her to calculate flight paths and gravitational effects that would have taken a computer several minutes to process. "Captain, they're trying to get a target lock on us," she reported, "but I think I can stay ahead of their targeting systems." On the Korthax flagship, Sub-Commander Vex Bladeheart watched the human ship dance through space with growing respect. "Commander, their pilot is exceptional. That ship is moving like a fighter craft instead of an exploration vessel." Zeth studied the tactical display with interest. The humans were not responding the way most species did when faced with superior firepower. Instead of surrendering or trying to flee, they were adapting their tactics in real time, using their ship's capabilities in ways that even impressed a Korthax warrior. "Interesting. Order the fleet to surround them, but do not destroy them yet. I want to see what other surprises these humans possess." Back on the Ranger, Chief Engineer Ben Carter was experiencing his own transformation. His understanding of the ship's systems had expanded far beyond normal human capability. He could see ways to modify their engines, weapons, and shields that the original designers had never considered. "Captain, I can boost our weapon output by 30% if I reroute power from the secondary systems," he called out. "But it will mean shutting down everything except life support and engines." "Do it," Jake ordered without hesitation. Doctor. Lisa Grant was no longer just studying the genetic changes in the alien DNA samples. She was experiencing them firsthand as her own DNA began to activate dormant sequences that had been placed there by the same ancient civilization that had created the beacon. Her scientific mind was processing information at an incredible rate, understanding patterns in Korthax behavior and technology that should have taken years of study. "Captain, I'm analyzing their attack patterns," she said, her voice carrying a new confidence. "The Korthax are testing us, not trying to destroy us. They want to see how we fight before they decide whether we're worthy opponents. Then let's show them what humans can do when we're pushed into a corner." The space battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Ranger, a simple exploration ship, began fighting like a warship designed by master tacticians. Jake's tactical decisions became more complex and effective with each passing minute. Amy's piloting reached levels that bordered on the impossible. Ben's engineering modifications pushed their technology beyond its normal limits. The Korthax fleet responded by increasing their own efforts. What had started as a simple test became a full combat engagement as both sides discovered that they had finally found opponents worthy of their abilities. 3 hours into the battle, Ambassador Veltar Moonwhisper arrived with the largest Galactic Council peacekeeping fleet ever assembled. The elegant Altarian had expected to find either a peaceful first contact situation or the remains of a human ship destroyed by unknown attackers. Instead, he found a battle that was reshaping his understanding of what was possible in space combat. "By the ancient stars," whispered his aide, Pip Stardust, as they watched the tactical display. "That human ship is fighting 57 enemy vessels and holding its own." "And look at the enemy ships," Veltar added with growing horror. "They're not using their full firepower either. Both sides are learning from each other, adapting their tactics in real time." The Council fleet moved to establish a buffer zone between the combatants, but their presence was largely ignored by both the humans and the Korthax. To warriors experiencing the full activation of their genetic potential, the peacekeepers looked like children trying to interrupt a dance between titans. "Open a channel to both vessels," Veltar ordered. "I will attempt to mediate this conflict before it escalates further. Human vessel and unknown fleet, this is Ambassador Veltar Moonwhisper. of the Galactic Council. You are ordered to cease hostilities immediately. This region of space is under Council protection, and unauthorized combat is strictly forbidden. Jake's response came back immediately, but his voice had changed. It carried a confidence and authority that made Veltar's elegant features twist with concern. Ambassador, we appreciate your concern, but this is no longer a matter for the Council. We're dealing with something that goes beyond your authority. Zeth's reply was even more disturbing. Council Mediator, you will withdraw your ships immediately. This is a matter between warrior races. Your people lack the strength to understand what is happening here. Dr. Grant had been monitoring the Council communications, and her enhanced analytical abilities allowed her to understand the political implications immediately. Captain, the Council is terrified. They've never seen anything like this battle, and they're realizing that both humans and the Korthax are much more dangerous than anyone thought. On Earth, Admiral Helen Price was dealing with her own crisis. The reports coming in from the Ranger were barely believable, but the sensor data from other ships in the area confirmed that a single human vessel was engaged in combat with an entire alien fleet and somehow surviving. Get me President Kyle Washington immediately, she ordered her communications officer. And contact Defense Secretary Maria Santos. We need to make some decisions about what this means for humanity's future. President Washington's face appeared on the secure communication screen within minutes. Admiral, please tell me that the reports I'm receiving are exaggerated. I'm afraid not, sir. Captain Morrison and his crew appear to be experiencing some kind of enhancement to their abilities. They're fighting like nothing we've ever seen before. Enhancement? What kind of enhancement? Admiral Price looked at the data streaming in from the battle zone. According to Dr. Grant's last report, the genetic modifications that were placed in human DNA by an ancient civilization are activating under combat stress. Our people are becoming something more than human. The implications of that statement hung in the air like a heavy weight. If humans could become enhanced warriors simply by being placed in life-threatening situations, what did that mean for their place in galactic civilization? Back in the battle zone, the combat had reached a new level of intensity. The Ranger was no longer just evading and surviving. Jake and his crew were beginning to match the Korthax ship for ship in terms of tactical innovation and combat effectiveness. Captain, I'm detecting something strange, Amy reported. Our ship systems are starting to respond to our commands before we give them. It's like the Ranger is becoming an extension of our thoughts. Ben nodded from his engineering station. I'm seeing the same thing. The ship's computer is learning from our enhanced thought patterns and adapting its responses accordingly. Dr. Grant made a discovery that changed everything. Captain, I've been analyzing the energy readings from both our ship and the Korthax vessels. The ancient technology isn't just in that derelict ship. It's scattered throughout this entire region of space, and our battle is activating it. What does that mean? It means we're not just fighting each other anymore. We're waking up technology that has been dormant for thousands of years, and I think that was the point all along. Jake realized that they had stumbled into something much larger than a simple first contact situation. The ancient civilization that had seeded both Earth and the Korthax homeworld had planned for this moment. They had wanted the two warrior races to find each other and fight, because the combat would trigger systems that had been waiting for activation. All ships, human and Korthax, this is Captain Morrison. I think we need to talk. There's something happening here that's bigger than both our species. Commander Zeth's response surprised everyone. Agreed, human captain. My sensors are detecting the same anomalies that yours must be showing. Perhaps it is time to understand what our creators truly intended. The battle stopped as suddenly as it had begun, but the changes it had triggered were irreversible. Both species had been transformed by the combat, and the ancient technology scattered throughout the region was now fully active. The galaxy would never be the same. The meeting between Captain Jake Morrison and Commander Zeth Ironscale took place aboard the ancient derelict ship, the only neutral ground both sides could agree upon. Jake brought Dr. Lisa Grant and Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez with him. Zeth arrived, with Sub-Commander Vex Bladeheart and a being introduced as Science Cast Nim Voidcaller, the Korthax equivalent of a researcher, standing face-to-face with Zeth. Jake was struck by how similar they were despite their obvious physical differences. Both had the same look in their eyes, the same enhanced awareness that came from the genetic modifications. Both moved with the controlled precision of predators who had learned to think faster than their enemies. "Your species fights well for such small beings," Zeth said, his voice carrying what might have been respect. "I had expected the other warrior race to be larger." "Size isn't everything," Jake replied. "Your people are impressive fighters, but you rely too much on direct assault. Humans prefer to adapt and improvise." Dr. Grant and ScienceCast Voidcaller were already working together, sharing data about the genetic changes both species were experiencing. Despite being from completely different evolutionary backgrounds, they found themselves thinking along similar lines as their enhanced minds processed information. "The modifications are accelerating," Dr. Grant reported. "Both our species are developing abilities that go far beyond normal biological limits. Enhanced reflexes, improved pattern recognition, and something I can only describe as battlefield telepathy." Nim Voidcaller's translator device converted his complex speech into understandable words. "Our analysis confirms this. The Ancient Ones designed these changes to activate when warrior races encountered each other, but there is more. The technology we are activating throughout this region was not meant for war between our peoples. Amy's enhanced tactical thinking was already working on the bigger picture. If they wanted us to fight each other just to activate this technology, then the technology must be meant for fighting something else, something that required two fully enhanced warrior races working together." Zeth's red eyes glowed with understanding. "The coming darkness mentioned in the ancient records. They were preparing us for a threat that has not yet arrived?" Before anyone could respond, alarms began sounding on all their ships. The space around the derelict was changing, reality itself seeming to bend and twist as the ancient technology reached full activation. Dr. Grant's instruments detected energy patterns that violated several basic laws of physics. "Captain, we need to get back to our ships immediately," Amy said, her enhanced instincts warning her of approaching danger, but it was too late. The space around them exploded with light, and when it faded, they found themselves looking at something that should not have existed. A massive structure was materializing in space, built from the same impossible materials as the derelict ship, but thousands of times larger. "What is that thing?" Jake asked, though part of his enhanced mind already knew the answer. "It's a gateway," Dr. Grant whispered, her scientific instruments going crazy as they tried to analyze what they were seeing. "The ancient civilization built a doorway between our galaxy and somewhere else. On the other side of the gateway, something was moving. Shapes that hurt to look at directly, beings made of living darkness that seemed to absorb light itself. The threat that the ancient civilization had been preparing for was finally arriving, back with the Galactic Council fleet. Ambassador Veltar Moonwhisper was experiencing his own crisis of understanding. The elegant Altarian had spent his entire life believing that civilization meant peace, that violence was the mark of primitive species. Now he was watching two so-called primitive species working together to face a threat that his advanced civilization had never even imagined. "Sir, the energy readings from that structure are beyond our ability to measure," reported Pip Stardust. "Our most powerful weapons would be useless against something like that." "And the creatures coming through? They're absorbing energy from our sensor beams. Every time we try to scan them, they seem to get stronger." Veltar realized that everything the Galactic Council believed about strength and civilization was wrong. The peaceful, advanced species had become weak by avoiding conflict. Meanwhile, the violent Deathworld species had developed the exact capabilities needed to face this ultimate threat on Earth. Admiral Helen Price was coordinating the largest military mobilization in human history. Every available ship was being prepared for immediate departure to the battle zone. But even as she worked, she knew that normal human military forces would not be enough for what was coming. Admiral, we're receiving reports from our colonies throughout human space, reported her aide. People are experiencing the same changes that Captain Morrison's crew went through. The genetic modifications are activating across our entire species. President. Kyle Washington appeared on the communication screen, his face grim. Admiral Defense Secretary Maria Santos has been working with our best scientists. They believe the activation is triggered by the presence of the threat itself. Humanity is automatically adapting to face this enemy. What about our allies in the Galactic Council? They're panicking, sir. Most of their member species are requesting immediate evacuation from the Rim territories. They want to retreat to the galactic core and hope the threat doesn't follow them. Admiral. Price felt the genetic changes beginning in herself as the reality of the situation became clear. That's not going to work. If this enemy can build gateways between galaxies, nowhere in our galaxy will be safe. Meanwhile, Colonel Rick Barnes was leading the human rapid response fleet toward the battle zone at maximum speed. His ships were filled with volunteers who had specifically requested to be part of the mission after learning about the genetic enhancements. Every human military officer wanted to experience the transformation that would make them capable of fighting impossible enemies. Colonel, we're receiving tactical data from Captain Morrison, reported his communications officer. The enemy forces are unlike anything in our databases. They don't seem to follow normal physical laws. Then we'll have to write new laws, Barnes replied, feeling his own mind beginning to change as they approached the combat zone. Back at the gateway, Jake and Zeth found themselves working together as if they had been military partners for years. Their enhanced minds were perfectly synchronized, allowing them to coordinate attacks and defensive maneuvers without even speaking. The enemy is testing our capabilities, Zeth observed as creatures of living darkness probed their defensive positions. They are learning how we fight. Then we need to keep changing our tactics, Jake replied. Amy, can you coordinate with their pilot to create overlapping defensive patterns? Already on it, Captain. These Korthax know how to move their ships. Dr. Grant and Sciencecast Void Caller had made a breakthrough in understanding the enemy. Captain, these beings aren't just from another galaxy, Dr. Grant reported. They're from another dimension entirely. They exist by consuming the life energy of entire civilizations. How many galaxies have they already destroyed? Jake asked. Based on the energy readings, thousands, maybe millions. They're not just invaders. They're harvesters moving from galaxy to galaxy and consuming everything alive, Nim Voidcaller added, his own analysis. The ancient ones who seeded our worlds knew this threat was coming. They created us to be the defense force for our galaxy. Two warrior races, enhanced beyond normal biological limits, working together to fight an enemy that cannot be defeated by conventional means. The first major attack came without warning. Hundreds of the dark creatures poured through the gateway, moving through space as if it were water. They ignored the Council peacekeeping ships entirely, focusing their assault on the human and Korthax vessels. Jake felt his enhanced abilities reach new levels as the combat intensified. He could see patterns in the enemy movement that allowed him to predict their attack seconds before they happened. Around him, his crew was fighting with capabilities that went far beyond what any human had ever possessed. But even with their enhancements, the battle was not going well. The dark creatures learned from every exchange, adapting their tactics faster than either species could develop new countermeasures. We need reinforcements, Amy reported, her voice strained from the intensity of the combat. And we need them now. Help is coming, Jake replied, watching his tactical display show the approaching fleets from both Earth and the Korthax Empire. The question is whether we can hold out long enough for them to arrive. The fate of the galaxy now depended on two species that the rest of galactic civilization had dismissed as primitive barbarians. The peaceful, advanced aliens could only watch in horror as their perfect civilization crumbled before an enemy they had never imagined, while the violent Deathworld dwellers fought desperately to save everyone. The massive fleets from Earth and the Korthax Empire arrived at the battle zone within hours of each other, but what they found was beyond anything their commanders had prepared for. The gateway was now fully open, pouring dark creatures into their galaxy at an alarming rate. The space around the ancient derelict had become a war zone where normal physics no longer applied. Colonel Rick Barnes felt the genetic changes complete themselves as his fleet approached the combat area. His mind expanded beyond human limits, allowing him to process tactical information at incredible speeds. Around him, every human in the fleet was experiencing the same transformation. Soldiers who had been ordinary people just days before were becoming something that could stand against creatures from another dimension. War Prime Vex Stormclaw led the Korthax reinforcements with the same enhanced abilities. The massive warrior had brought the full battle armada of his people, hundreds of ships filled with Korthax who had spent their entire lives preparing for the ultimate battle. Now they finally had enemies worthy of their capabilities. "Human Colonel," Stormclaw's voice came across the communication channels. "Your species fights with honor. We will stand together against this darkness." "Agreed, War Prime. Our people are stronger together than apart." The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Human and Korthax ships worked in perfect coordination, their enhanced crews thinking and fighting as a single unified force. The dark creatures that had seemed invincible when facing normal ships found themselves challenged by opponents who could adapt and evolve their tactics in real time. Captain Jake Morrison coordinated the overall strategy from the Ranger. His enhanced mind processing information from hundreds of ships simultaneously. Dr. Lisa Grant and Sciencecast Nimvid Caller had discovered that the dark creatures had a weakness. They could absorb energy from normal weapons, but the ancient technology that was activating throughout the region could disrupt their dimensional stability. "All ships, focus your fire on the gateway structure itself," Jake ordered. "If we can destabilize the portal, we can cut off their reinforcements." But even as the combined human and Korthax fleets began to gain ground against the dark creatures, a new threat emerged. Ambassador Veltar Moonwhisper, watching the battle from his diplomatic vessel, received an urgent message from the Galactic Council Emergency Committee. "Ambassador, the Council has voted to deploy the Stellar Disruptor weapon," came the transmission from the Galactic Core. "The threat must be contained, even if it means destroying everything in that sector of space." Veltar felt his elegant features twist with horror. The Stellar Disruptor was the most powerful weapon in the Council's arsenal, capable of causing a star to explode and destroy everything within several light years. The Council, in their panic, was willing to commit genocide against both the humans and the Korthax to prevent the dark creatures from spreading. "Counselors, the human and Korthax forces are winning the battle," Veltar protested. "They are successfully containing the threat. There is no need for such extreme measures. The Deathworld species are too dangerous to be allowed to survive," came the cold reply. "This incident has shown us what they are capable of when fully activated. They must be eliminated along with the dimensional threat." Veltar realized that his own people, the supposedly advanced and peaceful council races, were about to become the real villains of this story. They were so afraid of the warrior species that they would rather destroy them than admit they needed their protection. "I will not allow this," he said quietly, and began sending coded warnings to both the human and Korthax fleets when Jake received Veltar's warning about the incoming stellar weapon. He felt a moment of despair that was quickly replaced by determination. The galaxy's so-called advanced civilizations were willing to destroy their protectors rather than face the truth about their own weakness. "All human and Korthax ships, we have a new priority target," he announced. "The Council is sending a weapon to destroy our star. We need to stop it before it reaches firing position." Commander Zeth's response was immediate. "Then we fight on two fronts. Some of us will continue to hold the gateway while others deal with this Council weapon." War Prime Stormclaw volunteered to lead the force that would intercept the Stellar Disruptor. "It will be an honor to show these Council weaklings what real warriors can accomplish," The next few hours tested the enhanced abilities of both species to their absolute limits. Half of their combined fleet continued the desperate battle against the dark creatures pouring through the gateway, while the other half raced to intercept the Council weapon before it could destroy their star. Dr. Grant made a crucial discovery during the battle. The genetic enhancements weren't just making them better fighters. They were allowing humans and Korthax to interface directly with the ancient technology scattered throughout the region. As the battle intensified, both species began to merge, with the technology itself becoming something more than biological beings. "Captain, I think I understand what the ancient civilization intended," she reported. "They didn't just create warrior races. They created a new form of life that could exist as both biological beings and technological constructs. We're becoming the guardians they always meant us to be." The turning point came when Amy Rodriguez, piloting the Ranger with abilities that now bordered on the supernatural, managed to get close enough to the gateway to interface directly with its control systems. Her enhanced mind merged with the ancient technology, giving her the power to begin closing the portal. At the same time, War Prime Stormclaw's force reached the Council's stellar weapon. Instead of simply destroying it, the enhanced Korthax warriors found a way to redirect its power, turning the weapon against the dark creatures still pouring through the rapidly closing gateway. The combined energy of a stellar disruptor and the ancient gateway technology created a feedback loop that not only destroyed the remaining dark creatures, but also sealed the dimensional rift permanently. The threat that had consumed millions of galaxies was finally stopped. In the aftermath, the galaxy faced a new reality. The human and Korthax forces had saved everyone, but their transformation had made them into something that could no longer be ignored or dismissed. They had become the guardians of galactic civilization. Whether that civilization wanted guardians or not, President Kyle Washington and the Korthax High Command signed the Treaty of Titans aboard the ancient derelict ship, establishing the Guardian Alliance. The two species would work together to protect the galaxy from threats that other civilizations could not handle. Ambassador Veltar Moonwhisper became the first council member to officially recognize the alliance, resigning his position with the council to serve as the first interspecies diplomatic liaison. His elegant people's betrayal during the crisis had shown him that true civilization was measured not by how peaceful a species was, but by how willing they were to protect others. Dr. Grant and ScienceCast Voidcaller established research stations throughout the region, studying the ancient technology and searching for other Deathworld species that might still be waiting to be awakened. Their work revealed that Earth and Vorth Prime were just the beginning. The ancient civilization had seeded dozens of worlds throughout the galaxy with potential guardian species. The story ended with Jake Morrison and Zeph Ironscale, now bearing the scars and enhancements that marked them as the first true guardians, taking a joint fleet beyond the galactic rim to search for others like them. Behind them, human and Korthax children played together in the first integrated colonies, while their parents worked side by side building defenses against threats that most of the galaxy still could not imagine. The peaceful species of the Galactic Council learned to sleep easier knowing that somewhere in the darkness between the stars, Deathworld Titans stood watch against the things that lurked beyond the light of civilization. And if other threats ever came calling, they would find that the galaxy's most dangerous predators had become its most dedicated protectors.